is a book in the New Testament of the Bible called the Acts of Apostles. Actually, it's not Acts, A-X-E, but Acts, A-C-T-S, or the actions of the disciples of Jesus. Before Jesus left to go back to heaven, he gave his disciples a mission to take his good news to the world. In the book of Acts, we learn of a man named Philip. Yes, that's him. He was one of the 7 men chosen to help with window food. Wait, that doesn't sound right. That should be widow's food, giving food to women whose husbands have died. Philip was a good guy.
In those days, it was very dangerous to be a Jesus follower. The first Christians were being persecuted or hurt for following Jesus. In fact, many were fleeing to surrounding areas where they ended up telling everyone they met about Jesus. The persecution of Christians, however, actually helped fulfill Jesus' command to take his good news to Judea, Samaria, and the ends of the earth. Philip knew that Jesus' message could bring joy to everyone, so he was one of those guys who took the message of Jesus to Samaria, an area that was hated by the Jews and considered unclean.
After some time in Samaria, Philip got a special alert on his GPS, his God positioning system. An angel told him to head to a city named Gaza, but to take an alternate route, a desert road. This may seem like an odd route calculation, but this kind of GPS is never wrong. Philip followed the turn-by-turn directions, headed south to Jerusalem about 65 miles, and then on to Gaza, about 34 miles further. He eventually saw an Ethiopian man who was traveling in his chariot from Jerusalem back to Africa. Even though Philip was walking, apparently he was a fast runner. His GPS told him to run and catch up with the chariot, and he did. As he approached the chariot, Philip noticed that the Ethiopian was reading a passage from the prophet Isaiah. Philip saw the confused look on his face and asked if he understood what he was reading. The Ethiopian said, "No, I don't understand. How can I unless someone explains it to me?"
Even though this man would have been considered lowly and unclean by Jewish law, Philip's joy couldn't be contained. He was excited to bring Jesus' wonderful news to anyone who would listen. Starting with the passage from Isaiah, Philip shared the good news of Jesus with the Ethiopian. They were enjoying the chariot ride down the desert road when they came to some water. The Ethiopian shouted with joy, "Look, water! Shouldn't I be baptized?" He ordered the chariot to stop. Philip and the Ethiopian got out of the chariot and headed toward the water. They both went into the water where the Ethiopian declared his belief in Jesus and his joy for the good news. The 2 men went into the water, but as they were coming out of the water, there was only one man, the Ethiopian. Philip was gone. This time, Philip didn't have to do any walking or running. His God positioning system transported him from the water beside that desert road to Azotus, a city about 20 miles north of Gaza. There, he continued to spread the good news, trusting God to spark joy wherever he went.
And what about the Ethiopian? Well, he never saw Philip again, but he went on his way back to Ethiopia, full of joy and knowledge of God. The Ethiopian had joy because Philip shared God with him, and we can ask God to help spark joy in our lives as well. I know it may be hard to believe, but that's just how it happened in the Bible.